BMW just built 151 cars that Americans can't buy. Yes, Americans are stuck with the regular 540i variants, but here in Canada, BMW delivered this. It's called the Legacy Edition, and it has individual manufacturer paint, the M Sport Pro package, and 21-inch wheels, all for one price. No options, no upselling, no games, just 151 units of what BMW considers to be the perfect 540i specification. But here's what's really interesting. This isn't about Canadian preference or regulatory requirements. This is BMW conducting a very expensive market experiment, and what they learn from these 151 cars might completely change how they sell luxury sedans. Today, we're going to figure out what BMW is really testing and why they chose Canada as their laboratory. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Max, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, BMW didn't just randomly pick Canada for this little exclusive. No, they chose this market specifically to be free from the noise of the American market. This Legacy Edition represents BMW's experiment in curated perfection, and it might just be a hint at the future of luxury car buying. And before we get into what it's like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. And while my American friends are familiar with the 540, this is the only 540 that Canadians get. Otherwise, the options are 530, 550, and of course the M5s that we love. Under the hood is the B58 turbocharged 3-liter inline 6, and it is a mild hybrid. It makes 375 horsepower from 5,200 to 6,250 RPM and 398 pounds of torque from 1,850 to 5,000 RPM. Transmission's an 8-speed automatic. It is xDrive all-wheel drive, of course. The rear diff is the open type. It's not an electronically controlled limited slip diff. Steering's electrically assisted. Front suspension is based around double wishbones, multi-link at the rear with adaptive dampers. With this Legacy Edition, the M Sport brakes are standard equipment, your choice of red or blue calipers. Wheels and tires are 21s, and the tire is a performance non-run flat, which is the way to go. Curb weight is 4,370 pounds, and weight distribution is 54% front, 46% rear. But on this channel, we know it's not static weight distribution that counts, it's how you use it. BMW calls this the Legacy Edition, and they're not kidding around. It's their love letter to the golden era of the 5 Series back when they were purchased to be driven, not to be seen in. The inline 6 is naturally aspirated in spirit, but turbocharged in reality, and German engineered in attitude. It's like getting a handwritten note from someone who usually texts. You know they really mean it. And fun fact, BMW built only 151 of these exclusively for Canada, proving that being America's polite neighbor sometimes has its privileges. Manufacturers send me cars because this channel has credibility, and that credibility comes from an audience who actually understands what I'm talking about. If that audience is you, then please subscribe. If not, there's a guy on TikTok doing car reviews from his driveway. We've been driving these modern BMWs with these big screens for a little while now, and at first it seems gimmicky, but then after you use these things and live with them, they become completely indispensable and you don't want to go back to anything else. BMW integrated the instrument cluster and infotainment display so seamlessly, it's like they melted 2 really good ideas into one brilliant one. Maybe I'm a little accustomed to this, but I think the learning curve is gentler than most relationships, and the payoff lasts longer than any streaming series. Don't subscribe if you're American and salty about this Canadian exclusive, but if you appreciate why BMW chose this market to test a new way of selling luxury cars, then do subscribe for my analysis about what they learned. This Veganza upholstery is perforated and quilted like a luxury handbag, except in this case, it's designed for people who actually enjoy driving rather than being photographed as if they were driving. The heating and ventilation works faster than most people's Wi-Fi, and the support structure feels like BMW studied actual human anatomy instead of just designing for crash test dummies. Here's one of the things that BMW got right about this interior. They didn't sacrifice rear seat headroom for a stylish roofline. people in the back get legitimate legroom, actual headroom, and their own climate controls, because BMW understands that sometimes the person signing the check isn't the only person riding in the car. It's a lesson most four-door coupe manufacturers haven't learned yet. One of the things I love about the driving experience is you can hear the thrum of that B58 from time to time, and it's such a delightful motor. But overall, this interior is extremely quiet, and perhaps it's quieter than a Tesla fanboy after you start talking about panel gaps. The Bowers & Wilkins sound system is brilliant. I've been enjoying it as much as possible, and it is fantastic to my ears. And I think this system has 18 speakers, which coincidentally is more than Toronto drivers have functioning brain cells. At the end of the day, BMW knows how to do cockpits for drivers, and this is just perfect for me. I really dig being here behind the wheel of this 540, and the ergonomics here are so good. You could drive this to your therapist and arrive already feeling better about yourself. This is not an M car by any stretch of the imagination, although this probably has more performance than an M5 from a couple of generations ago. Still, I think BMW's found a sweet spot, especially with the steering in terms of day-to-day usability and being satisfying for drivers like you and me to enjoy. The weight is on the lighter side, but there's enough of it to feel substantial without feeling heavy, and enough feedback to know what the front tires are actually doing without transmitting every pebble to your palm. It's tuned for people who actually want to drive rather than just arrive. It's the difference between a scalpel and a butter knife, and both have their place, but only one of them makes you better at surgery. What else are we going to do with the B58 except test out the launch control function? Shall we? Let's. Wow, this is ridiculously quick. Now, BMW says this will do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds officially, but it seems like real-world numbers are closer to 4 seconds flat, and there's no doubt about that. What that leads me to believe, however, is those horsepower and torque numbers are a little bit pessimistic, because this is very, very quick. Top speed's limited to around 150 miles an hour, which is perfect for Autobahn cruising, don't you think? Now, this B58 makes the right kind of power and torque, and especially torque, because the torque peak starts under 2,000 RPM. Torque curve stays flat until 5,000 RPM, just the way you want it. You could say this B58 works like a good employee, shows up early, stays late, and delivers consistent results. And the best thing is they've eliminated turbo lag without sacrificing any of the inline 6's character, so you get immediate response with that signature BMW inline 6 soundtrack, which makes the owners of other engines a little bit jealous. In context of the real world, 0 to 60 times of about 4 seconds flat is more than quick enough to embarrass a whole lot of proper sports cars. But if you're careful with your right foot, you can actually avoid terrifying your passengers, and this motor is linear enough to use every day without feeling like you're wrestling a wild animal. BMW tuned this powertrain for sustained performance like the Autobahn rather than just party tricks, and it's properly built for the marathon of daily driving, not just YouTube acceleration runs. The marriage between the B58 and the xDrive all-wheel drive system is more harmonious than most marriages. The all-wheel drive system stays invisible until conditions require a little intervention, and then it redistributes power with the efficiency of a Swiss watch and the decisiveness of a German traffic law. It's the kind of seamless integration that makes you forget how complex the whole system is. The beauty of this entire drivetrain lies in what you don't notice. The engine's silky smooth, no turbo lag. The transmission shifts up and down the box quickly, and shifts are almost telepathic. And the all-wheel drive system just works without looking for any acknowledgement. BMW has achieved that rare combination of sophisticated technology that enhances the driving experience without drawing attention to itself. It's like having a really good sound engineer, and you only notice that when that job is done poorly. And fun fact, BMW's inline 6s have been winning big races around the world since before your grandfather met your grandmother. The overall handling dynamics here are delightful, and I think the real achievement is how BMW balanced competing priorities, because it's very easy to turn a low-volume car like this into something that rides stiffly, where everybody's uncomfortable and it's not so fun on a day-to-day basis. This thing rides beautifully for daily comfort, but then it handles precisely enough for weekend entertainment and maintains its composure under load without feeling artificially stiff. It's the automotive equivalent of a Swiss Army knife. Not the best at any single task, but impressively capable for everything you need it to do. I don't often talk about aesthetics on this channel, but I really appreciate how these 21s look on this 540. But here's the thing, BMW just didn't bolt on big wheels and call it sporty. They recalibrated the entire suspension to work with the reduced sidewall height, maintaining compliance without sacrificing any precision in the corners. It's like wearing a perfectly tailored suit. You look sharp without feeling restricted, which is exactly what good suspension engineering should accomplish. Now, these brakes are extremely impressive, and if I were product planning this car, these are the brakes I would put on this thing because they are extremely satisfying. I'm going to brake late here into this corner just for fun, and brilliant. These brakes have the precision of a supercar, of a very, very finely tuned sports car. They're just brilliant. But the thing is, these M Sport brakes don't just stop the car. They manage energy like a competent financial advisor manages your retirement fund. The initial bite is confident without being grabby. Modulation is linear throughout the pedal travel, and they resist fade, suggesting these components were designed by people who understand that braking is as important as accelerating. And it's the kind of system that makes emergency stops feel controlled instead of just terrifying. Really appreciate how BMW's tuned the suspension, because I think it's actually perfect for this car. It's got lots of compliance, but still supports you in the corners when those corners get interesting. There's a little bit of body roll, just enough to let you know what's going on, but it still corners flatter than flat earth conspiracy theorists' understanding of science. Because this is not an M car, there's not this infinite amount of adjustability in terms of different drive modes. There's a handful of selections, and I just use this in the default sport mode because it does everything I want it to do. It makes this the most responsive, and maybe my only complaint is I'd like a little bit more weight to the steering when we are in that sport mode, but otherwise I really can't complain. Time to find some corners, shall we? Let's. Up over the crest, down to second. Transmission's nice and responsive. Turn-in is immediate. Yeah, a little bit of body roll, but still lots of compliance from the suspension. The dampers do a fantastic job of soaking up the bumps and making sure that those tires stay in contact with the road. And on top of that, body control is excellent. BMW really knows how to calibrate their dampers. This thing is just delightful. And yeah, I'd like a little bit more heft to the steering, but it is still very precise, responsive. Off camber on the exit of this turn. Let's get aggressive. Beautiful. No interference from the traction control system. This thing is fantastic. I've got precise control over this car with the brake pedal as well. This is an extremely well-resolved package. Wow. This Legacy Edition isn't just a limited run, it's BMW conducting a masterclass in marketing psychology. By eliminating choice, they increased desirability. By limiting availability, they created legitimate exclusivity. By including everything at one price, they simplified the buying process for people who have money, not infinite patience. And the result is a car that actually feels special because it is special, not because the marketing department says it's special. And perhaps what BMW's done here is created the perfect 5 Series, but then gave them all to Canadians. And for you, my American friends, that's just cruel and unusual punishment. How do you spec yours? Well, I have some thoughts, but stay with me here. What you are looking at is a 2026 BMW 540i Legacy Edition here in Canada. This is the BMW individual manufacturer Maldives Blue 2 paint. Inside, that is the smoke white perforated and quilted Veganza upholstery. Now here in Canada, it comes one way, basically your choice of colors at $94,500, and that's it. In the US, you could spec your 540i xDrive this way. It starts with a base 540i xDrive at $67,100 and add all of these options, and you get an as-tested price of $84,045 in the US. I do think that BMW is testing one thing, and that is luxury sedan buyers don't want infinite choice. It might just be they want perfect choice. The Legacy Edition spec includes every option that matters and excludes every option that doesn't. No agonizing over whether to add the premium sound system, no calculating whether the sport package is worth another $3,000. BMW made all the right decisions, so you don't have to make any wrong ones. And I think it's decision fatigue prevention disguised as customer service. Now, before you get all excited about ordering your new BMW 540, we dug deep into owners' forums to see what real-world owners have to say about living with their 540i's, and it's much more revealing than anything I could experience in a week-long test. Thankfully, the meaningful complaints are relatively minimal. One thing that owners love to complain about are those minimalist air vents, and owners seem to universally hate them. I'm not sure why. Quote, horrific air vents that are practically impossible to figure out which way they're aiming unless you blast the AC. It's such a specific complaint that you know it comes from real frustration, but as far as I'm concerned, set the climate control on automatic, set it and forget it. As well, owners are complaining about the trunk situation. On paper, it's bigger than the previous generation, but every owner says it feels dramatically smaller. Not sure why either. On the other hand, and it comes as no surprise, the B58 in the real world seems pretty bulletproof, and owners are reporting almost no issues with high mileage. And overall, 540i owners love their BMWs, and I'm not surprised, but that kind of intel comes from living with a 540i on a day-to-day basis, which is something that I'm not going to get from the honeymoon phase of a week-long test drive. About these air vents, comment if you disagree, but don't just say, I like them. That doesn't help anyone. If you tell me this is how to aim them reliably, well, that advances the conversation. My verdict? Well, here's what I think BMW has learned from this little experiment, and it's that luxury car buyers are willing to pay for curated experiences instead of endless option lists. The Legacy Edition's success validates BMW's shift toward fewer, more thoughtfully equipped variants. By limiting choice, they actually increased desirability and margins. This wasn't about punishing American buyers, it was about perfecting a business model they'll likely bring south of the border and to other markets. Sometimes being excluded from the test market means you get the refined product later. Canada got the experiment, but America will get the evolution, and it'll probably be even better. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2026 BMW 540i xDrive Legacy Edition. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. And hey, the merch store is live, so buy a t-shirt if you're the kind of person who corrects people when they call it RPMs instead of RPM. And if you don't appreciate precision in language or driving, there's probably another channel for you.